I like teaching here because the students, every year, I've taught here for, this is the 4th year I've taught here, and every year the students are always a new and exciting bunch of interesting individuals. They are from lots of different places, lots of different backgrounds, and because of the kind of artistic environment that Goldsmiths is, they're just always an interesting bunch to teach. This year I teach 4 courses in ECL. I teach Moderns, 2nd year course, Approaches, 1st year, Engaging Poetry, 1st year, and Short Story, 1st year.
Okay. I mean, poetry, fiction, what do you like teaching most and what do you like teaching least?
Most, I would say, definitely Moderns, because it encompasses lots of different genres, and also it's the period which I probably would say is my specialism. Avant-garde is the area which I have worked on in the past, and it's such an exciting period for so many different reasons, and challenging as well. So I find it's the most interesting course to teach in terms of trying to translate difficult ideas to students. Okay,
and least?
I honestly would say there are none that I dislike teaching. The two of those courses which I mentioned are very new to me. I've only just begun them, so I have yet to really know how that's going to be. It's a new experience. But Approaches I've taught before, and I'd say that's more difficult sometimes because there are so many different ways you can teach it. Lots of people who teach the course have different ideas about how to teach it, and I think sometimes it's hard to make the students understand why, what it is about this course that makes it different. It's difficult to make them see that what they're looking at is the approaches rather than the text themselves. That's what's difficult about it, I think.
Okay, and that's theory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Theoretical approaches. What are the particular challenges of teaching theory to undergraduates, do you think?
Well, I think, if I'm honest, I think it's because people have such... I'm talking about tutors here, or lecturers. Everybody has a different idea about what theory or what a course about theoretical approaches should entail, and so and yet we're all working from the same syllabus, and it's difficult to... you can't change the syllabus. You have to teach what's on the syllabus, and there are certain things, for example, which I would like to see on the syllabus which aren't on the syllabus. But then you can't confuse students by telling them too much about things which aren't on the syllabus. So I think it's difficult as well to introduce. I mean, theory is such a huge and it's such a huge beast, and it can confuse first years, definitely. So and there's such a range of abilities in the first year as well. Do you pussyfoot around them and not really show them the text themselves, these difficult big philosophical names, or do you show them, scare them, make them not want to read Freud ever again? So that's what's difficult, and some of them will absolutely go with it, and some will be terrified and confused. So you have to kind of be willing to be flexible with approaches more than others, I think.
Okay. Do you follow a class plan when you teach? Can you give us a flavour of, say, a seminar you might take for approaches?
I do always plan out what I'm going to do. I find that if I don't, if you kind of wait to see how the conversation kind of goes, then sometimes you can end up with silences. That's when you can end up with gaps of time, and suddenly you've got 20 minutes and you really don't know what to say. And I really don't think that's helpful for anybody. So I try and plan it really quite rigorously. I try and know exactly what I'm going to do for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So we'll talk, try and get them to talk to try and get get them to open up a little bit at the beginning, talk very generally, ask them some general questions about whatever it is that they've had the lecture on this week, and ask them their opinion on things. And sometimes that'll get someone saying something negative, and that's quite a good starting point. I didn't like the lecture, I didn't like the text this week, so that's quite good. Try and get people to talk to each other and not just talk to me, and then after that, after you've done that for a while, some quite specific focused exercises on reading, a little bit of text, getting them either reading things out loud, getting them to read things out loud, letting them go away and think about something, doing some annotating, doing some close reading, and then coming back and talking about it all together, that kind of thing.
How do you conclude a seminar?
I think it's really important to make sure that you do, because I do think that at the beginning, when I first started teaching, you're so kind of I don't know, it's a very strange and intense experience at first, when you're in control really, and they're only looking at you, and they're not going to conclude it, so you have to kind of wrap it up by saying some things, asking them some questions to see if they've actually learned anything, or asking them if what we've just done makes sense in terms of the broader questions of the course or of that week, and then trying to link up the specific exercises to the general questions, and also how whatever you've been studying that week relates to the course as a whole.
Last question, silence in seminars. Do you have any strategies or advice to offer about the silent seminar, or the silent students?
A variety of things. I think that I try from the very, very beginning to be as approachable as possible, and I don't ever try and come across as authoritative. So I think that helps to stop the silences. You don't want to do that too much, because then the dynamic's not quite right, and it's more like you're just another student. That's not right either. So it's quite difficult. So if a silence arises, you ask, you leave. I don't leave it for ages and ages, because it's painful for everybody, and I don't think that's helpful, because it grows. There's an atmosphere. It's not nice. So generally, I will leave it a while, until I start thinking, oh, well, they're not really going to go with this. So then you ask the question in a different way. You give them some hints. You make a joke, try and lighten the atmosphere. Doesn't always work, but you give it a go. And if not, then it's not the end of the world. I just would say something like, right, okay, that's obviously something that you are either finding difficult. It's either too difficult or too. I'll say this to myself. It's either too difficult or too easy. If you ask them something that they feel is insulting their intelligence, they often are silent as well. So it's not always that that's challenging for them. It's sometimes that they're thinking, well, I can't be bothered. I'm going to wait until there's a more challenging thing to talk about. So then you can just leave it and move on to something else. I think that sometimes is more helpful, because it's not. I don't think it's often not the group or the situation. It's just something specific which they are unwilling to talk about for some reason. So you just have to be kind of shrug your shoulders and move on to the next thing.